Hello, welcome to another video. In this video, I'm actually starting a series of videos where I'm going to show you how we do an actual wedding. For those of you who've been watching my videos in the last few months, I've been mostly doing arrangements from flowers from my garden, just showing something beautiful and great that you can create on your own. But I thought it might be fun for you to see what I do professionally. I'm an events designer for almost 30 years. Started my business in 1994, and I do mostly weddings and parties. And so we've got a big wedding this weekend, and I thought it'd be fun to show you from start to finish what we do for a wedding. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to do a tall centerpiece. The centerpieces we're doing this time for the wedding are going to go on this large, tall, rectangular gold stand. So it needs to be big enough so that it doesn't look silly on a tall stand like this. And the mechanics we're going to use is this 11-inch acrylic tray. And that's what I have here with floral foam in it, taped down with bowl tape. So I've greened in the centerpiece with mostly eucalyptus with some cascading elements here so that it would look nice on this tall prop that we have. In this series of videos, I'm going to teach you, for those of you who are interested in becoming an event florist, or if you're doing an event for yourself. If you are brave enough to attempt to do your own wedding, I'm going to give you a lot of tips. One of the most important things when you're doing events is to have what I call a recipe. One of the hardest parts of doing events is to buy the right number of materials. So keep it simple. Don't do too many different materials in your centerpieces, and have a good count of how many you need. Do a prototype if you need to for one centerpiece, and then multiply it by the number you need so then you can order the right amount of flowers. Part of the process is to use hydrangeas to fill up the space. I've done big arrangements like these, thousands and thousands. So they take a lot of material because instead of a vase or a container that encloses your foam, you've got a shallow tray and a lot of the foam is visible. And so it takes a lot of greenery and takes a lot of hydrangeas and flowers to cover it. So what I have calculated is 10 stems of hydrangeas. And I'm just doing, I think, 4 stems of pink and 6 stems of white, just to kind of mix it up a little bit. And I'm going to start putting in the hydrangeas to set sort of the shape of the arrangement. I'm doing the arrangements outside today instead of in my kitchen videos because it's a beautiful day. It's about 70 degrees and sunny, even though it's early September, usually the hottest time of the year for us in Northern California, but it's been just beautiful today. Also, these larger arrangements I'm going to show you are hard to do in my usual kitchen setup. So I thought, hey, we'll do it outside. We'll enjoy the weather and be outside today. So you see how I'm just placing the hydrangeas all around in different levels so that it's just covering the foam. So you're ready, you have kind of the shape of your arrangement. So that's 10 hydrangeas. And then I have 9 snapdragons. The snapdragons are going to give you a little bit of vertical line. Not quite a line. This is going to be definitely a mounded arrangement, but the snapdragons are just going to give you some longer stem looking flowers poking out because it's going to be mostly a hydrangea and rose arrangement. If you want to do your own wedding or if you're planning to do a party for someone, I highly recommend you keep the number of different types of flower materials to a minimum. Because the more elements you have, the harder it is to figure out how many you need, and quickly your budget for flowers goes out the window. Trust me, even having done this for almost 30 years, sometimes you want to get fancy and put all sorts of cute little elements in the arrangements, and they don't really show up and they really eat away at your budget. Okay, so now we put in the snapdragons. So already you can see that it has taken shape, and this is about the size of the arrangement. It's not going to expand much more than this. And then I've calculated that we're going to use 10 roses. So we're going to do 5 white roses and 5 blush roses. So let me do the white roses first. Now, the roses I'm using are premium quality Ecuadorian roses. They're expensive, but look how giant these heads are. If you're using smaller roses, you might need to increase the number of roses you're going to be using, but I prefer to use fewer large roses. It shows up really well in these big arrangements, number one, and I don't know, it's just something people don't see every day. This is a beautiful rose called Candlelight. It's sort of off-white, and they bloom huge. I like that the centers are a little bit more vanilla colored, because I think the white roses, it gives it a lot more dimension, so it'll photograph better. So I'm just adding it in wherever I think we need to add in roses. Kind of in between the hydrangeas. And also know that these tall arrangements, a lot of the viewing is going to be sort of, what's eye level is going to be around here. So make sure you do fill in some of the space below too. Okay, I've got the white roses in. Now I'm going to do 5 blush roses. I have 2 different kinds of blush roses. This very pretty pale, almost peachy blush rose called Shimmer. Look at how big these heads are. They're just huge, almost like a garden rose. And then this very special rose called Pink O'Hara, which is highly fragrant and a very, very beautiful translucent pale pink. Okay. So with Ecuadorians, sort of the longer stem they are, the bigger the heads. So a lot of these are 60 centimeter or 70 centimeter even roses that I've cut down really short. But to get that beautiful, huge blooming rose, you kind of need to go big on your roses. And so it's more costly. Okay, so I'm adding in all my roses. And then one thing that I love to use are spray roses. Spray roses are relatively less expensive than Ecuadorians, and they really magnify the roses that you have. So I've got these really pretty pink spray roses, pale blush spray roses, and we're going to use 5 stems of the pale blush spray roses. So this is why we have a recipe. You know, I've done spreadsheets when I'm doing multiple events, so I know what to buy. Makes sourcing your materials much easier. You know what? I think I need a taller one in the middle. So I use this tall one in the middle. Oh, maybe that's too tall. Put it down a little bit. Okay. Okay. I love spray roses because not only do they sort of amplify the look of your Ecuadorian roses, it also, I don't know how to explain it, but it makes it look a little more natural, you know? Like when you have the big roses and the small roses together, sort of like small roses would be in the garden. And it's almost like a filler material just to loosen the arrangement up so it's not so stiff looking. Okay. I'm going around to see if I should put some in the lower perimeter here. Like I was saying, a lot of the eye level is going to be a lower part of the arrangement because we're going to have it on tables very high up. Okay, I have one more stem of this that's placed in a really good place. Maybe right here. Okay. And to fill in and to give it a little romantic kind of whimsy, we have baby's breath. The reason I chose this wedding to show you is it's very neutral, pink and white, which is very popular and very translatable to other events. And also, we're using a lot of readily available materials, nothing too exotic. So wherever you are in the country, you can have access to these materials. And I wanted to show you an event that is very representative of weddings that we do, so that if you are planning your own event, some of the information I give you hopefully can translate easily into your event. So I'm going to put some of the baby's breath along the base of the arrangement, the perimeter, so it kind of is pretty and cascading at the bottom. And then some of the longer pieces I'm going to weave throughout the arrangement so that you have baby's breath throughout the arrangement. So generally speaking, you don't want to just have baby's breath around the perimeter or only on top. You want to have it like throughout. And it's very pretty and romantic. And what I'm using is about a third of a wholesale bunch of baby's breath. Those of you who are taking notes. And I'm not sure how many stems are in a wholesale bunch, but it's a bigger bunch than where you would see like if you were to go to a grocery store or Trader Joe's. That's one of the hardest parts of doing your own events. If you're doing something big like a wedding, is where do you source your flowers? When I was learning floral design, we had a whole class where we were memorizing the Latin names of all the cut flowers. But in addition to that, we were also learning how many stems come in a wholesale bunch and how to condition and care for each of these flowers. That was one of my favorite classes in my professional floral training program. It was very useful to know. For instance, roses wholesale is 25 stems. It's 2 dozen plus 1. That's how you remember it. It's 2 dozen roses plus 1. And then most flowers come in bunches of 10, like Snapdragons are in bunches of 10. Hydrangeas are the exception. Hydrangeas usually come in bunches of 5. But this is all wholesale quantities, which may differ a lot from what you can get at grocery stores. And I don't recommend you take on any large events thinking you can get the materials from Trader Joe's or Costco. Costco, I suppose you can order flowers from them, but you definitely need to order ahead and have a good idea of how much you need. And it's also very difficult to calculate the amount of greenery you need. In an arrangement like this with exposed foam, I usually calculate 1 wholesale bunch of greenery. And when we go to the flower market, greenery is sold in bundles of 5 bunches. So a bundle would be 5 bunches. And it doesn't have to be the same greenery. Like here, I have a mixture of seeded eucalyptus and these silver dollar eucalyptus. But at least for calculating how much you need, I usually use about 1 bunch. And you definitely need a lot less if you're doing an arrangement in a vase or smaller arrangements. These are pretty big arrangements. I think we are done with this arrangement. All right, so our arrangements are done, all 8 of them. We've got 3 here in a cart and the rest are already in the fridge. We're gonna walk this into the big fridge. And you can take a tour of my big walk-in fridge. So we have 8 of the big arrangements in here and some of the flowers left for the large arrangements we're going to do in the bridal bouquet still. It's 9 o'clock morning of the wedding, nice and cool, doing the final check to make sure we have all the pieces we need for the delivery. We're loaded and ready to go. And there's a nice loading dock here, so we're not just trying to take this through the hotel. So we're going to go with the flowers on the carts to the ballroom. We're at the ballroom, easy access, right off the elevator. And the best thing is, even though we're really early, everything's already set up, so we can start assembling our centerpieces. Okay, so now we have to first build all these gold stands. We have to build 8 of these stands. Even number of tables get the tall centerpieces. So it looks like it's all the tables around the dance floor. So that's how the tall centerpieces are going to work. You saw it in the previous video when I did the centerpieces. Now you see what it looks like on a table. Very dramatic, and I think they're going to have candles in there.